Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Rangers Review Team News reaction video live from Ibrox ahead of tonight's Europa League quarter-final first leg against Athletic Club of Bilbao. To join us to discuss tonight's team, they're very loud in the background. Joshua is in the press conference in the Bills of Ibrox, or press room. Joshua, how goes it? First of all, looks like a lovely evening down Govan Way.
Yeah, sorry, that's Adam Thornton making a lot of noise to my left. Yeah, I was here first, Derek. It is a nice night, yes, and a big game, big news, which we'll get straight into with the team. Still taking it in. I knew that there was going to be changes. Didn't expect there to be a change in goals, but Barry Ferguson has definitely put his money where his mouth is in terms of making a big decision.
Yeah, we'll crack into the team news shortly. Just a quick word for our podcast sponsors. As you know the drill by now, folks, S1 Jobs sponsors the Rangers Review. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, head over to S1 Jobs and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Right, without much further ado, this is tonight's team, folks. As Joshua said there, big change has been made in goal. Liam Kelly gets the gloves in place of Jack Butland, who has been dropped. The Rangers team in full: Kelly, Stelling, Tavernier, Balogun, Proper, Ridvan, Raskin, Bailey, Rice and Yanis Hadji in the middle of the park, with Vaslav Cherny playing off Cyril Dessers up top. A very interesting lineup that Barry Ferguson has gone with tonight. He's made some big calls. He did promise that, and he has delivered with some interesting selection choices. On the bench for Rangers, Butland, Maguire, young Maguire's on there, Nsiala, Barron, Barami, Jeffy, Egerman, McCausland, Curtis, McCallion. Good to see the two young lads on there, Finlay Curtis as well, and Danilo make up the substitutes bench. Let's get to it, Joshua. In goals, you mentioned there a change. I'm pleased to see Liam Kelly in there. I think he deserves his chance. Butland has been prone to errors and huge errors for Rangers in recent weeks. And it's a big call for Barry. He says he'll sort of live and die by his decisions, and on his shoulders, so be it. And a big move this to drop Butland and bring Kelly in.
I was speaking to someone pre-match, Derek, and I was saying if he is to be dropped tonight, about an hour ago, it reminds me a little bit of, you remember Connor Goldson when he got dropped out, I think it was the Scottish Cup semi-final against Hearts, around about this time last year, correct me if I'm wrong, and that felt like a big moment because he hadn't been dropped up until then. It was obviously a relatively new manager still at that time in Clermont. There's two sides to this for me. One is, you see, if you just look at the last round in isolation, I think it's a harsh call because Rangers probably wouldn't be here without Butland, even if you just take that penalty shootout alone. But I think his performance away from home. But equally, no player, I think when Rangers have been really as bad as they are over the course of the season, no player can live with the consequences. And Butland has made, if you just take the games here, Derek, the 3 games at Ibrox, 3 most recent defeats in the league, Motherwell, Hibs, and 1 game was away, Dundee. Butland has had a mistake leading directly to a goal in all those games. I think his performance against St Mirren and Clermont's last game was questionable too. How long-term a view it is, I don't know, because does he get his place back automatically? And it is a big call because I think Butland is a better goalkeeper than Kelly, but clearly Ferguson thinks that his form doesn't merit a place in the starting 11 tonight. And it's certainly kind of nailing his colours to the mast. He said, sitting where I'm sitting here yesterday, he wasn't afraid to make big calls, and I think he's backed that up by taking out one of Rangers' leaders in the squad and one of their highest paid players and putting in the second choice goalkeeper, who was signed very much in the summer to be a second choice goalkeeper, but a huge night for Liam Kelly in place of Butland and goals.
Yeah, no, I have no issue with Liam Kelly between the sticks. He's a dependable goalkeeper, and he's shown already this season that he had a good game against Celtic at the turn of the year. Played it probably unlucky to lose his place when Jack Butland came back. I think he came back for the game against Man United down at Old Trafford. There was a bit of sort of humming and hawing whether he would keep his place for that game. Butland came in and punched one in, of course, for Man United's opening goal. But Liam Kelly between the sticks tonight. Lots of comments coming in, as you would imagine, with regards to that. Aaron says that's the end of Butland. That's certainly the view held by Johnny when he was on earlier on in the week. Chris also mentioned that on the morning briefing this morning, whether Jack Butland recovers from this. I don't think he does personally. George Higgins with the point, happy with that. Would have preferred Igaman up front. Butland won't play for us again. So there you go. Let's take another, probably the other biggest call apart from the goalkeeper, Joshua, and that is in midfield. Bailey Rice, I think you touched on it when we were on yesterday, that he may get the call in there in the middle of the park. That is a huge decision by Barry Ferguson to thrust him in from the start. Stuart says, chance for Rice to make a name for himself tonight. What a huge opportunity it is for him.
It is a huge opportunity. And again, Barry Ferguson actually brought him up. I think yesterday, he brought him up at the weekend. Was it the weekend or yesterday's press conference he mentioned Bailey Rice? I can't remember at this stage. But he kind of brought him up on, he brought him up unprompted recently, and he kind of thought, that is interesting. I suspected that Connor Barron would start, and we were speaking about it on yesterday's show, weren't we, Derek? That if Bailey Rice came in at number 6, I don't think you wanted Nico Raskin as the highest midfielder. Didn't take into account that it could be Barron, who dropped out, who's not had a great second half of the season. Hadji over Bayrami, again, slight surprise there because it was Bayrami who came on at the weekend. If you're looking at it from a positive point of view, I think Hadji and Rice are both players who want the ball. And Rangers are going to need to get forwards. We'll come on to the forward line, but they're going to need some form of composure in the middle of the park. If you're looking at it from more of a pessimistic point of view, I think it's a midfield three that could lack a little bit of legs in a game of this speed and a game of this magnitude. There's no doubt in, I think, Rice's technical ability. He made his debut in Europe near enough 2 years ago against Real Betis in one of Michael Beale's final games at the club. You presume it might be Raskin who sits as a number 6 and Rice higher up. I think, though, that Rice might just be entrusted with that role because we've seen Raskin be a little bit more flexible in his positioning as of late. So, again, a really big call if you think of it from Barry Ferguson's point of view to put in a player for his first European start in Bailey Rice and Liam Kelly as well. No Mohamed Diomande somewhat makes his decision for him there. And Yanis Hadji is a player who I don't think will be fazed by a big game of this magnitude. Will he help Rangers get up the park? Can he play with his back to goal? We shall see. But I was surprised when the team dropped that it was Rice, but he's earned, and let's see how he does.
I'm surprised as well. Stuart says Lawrence will no doubt be on late in the second half. He's not even in the squad, Stuart, so he won't be coming on in that second half. Lots of comments on Rice. JC says, chucking an 18-year-old who's hardly played against a team 4th in La Liga filled with Euro winners is just daft. And Aldo says Rice and Hadji is bonkers. So certainly not a fan of that midfield. You had Jefty in your lineup, Joshua, on the left-hand side. Ridvan's got the nod. I think he's the better defender of the two. I think Jefty has concentration issues. Are you surprised with that selection from Barry?
Not really surprised, because I don't think you can, to the previous comment, is it just daft? I guess from one side of things, surely you just copy and paste what worked against Fenerbahce. But Ferguson clearly, again, he sat here and spoke about trying to get to the root of the issue about this inconsistency. I don't really think you can fix that short term. I think that's a cultural issue. I think that's down to so much change. I think there's a number of factors that come into that. But I don't think anyone really, and we'll maybe again come on to this with Dessers, but I don't think anyone really could. Stevie Clifford's just walking past me. He's unhappy.
Hey,
there's a seat there.
There he is. What do you make of the team, Stevie? What's your thoughts on the team?
What do you think of the team?
Oh my word! Do you know what it reminds me of? Hopefully Derek can hear this.
Yeah,
see, in Football Manager, if you've been getting beat in the same game for about 3 hours, and then you just go, I'm just going to try this and see if it works. That's kind of what it reminds me of a wee bit.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I understand the Liam Kelly thing. Bailey Rice, I'm not so sure. Yanis Hadji, I'm definitely not sure. Just got to hope it works. Need to do something. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. Let's hope you've got a big smile on your face tomorrow morning.
I'll wait to find somewhere.
He's not got a clue what you've just said, but I'm sure he concurs. But I kind of agree with what Stevie said. No one's been playing well enough.
Nah.
I don't think, for example, if you're Conor Barron, you can say, I really deserve to be in there. From the other point of view, could you look at that Fenerbahce game and say, kind of just need to do what worked there? Yes. I can't even remember if Ridvan played at home or away at Fenerbahce. It's just been a season full of absolute inconsistency. The one concern I'd have is that Iñaki Williams, we spoke about the Williams brothers and kind of how they different strengths, and he'll attack the back post a lot. That could be a bit of a mismatch. Ridvan will need to do a lot of work, probably protecting proper, so his pace isn't isolated up against Williams too. But it was a bit of a toss-up for me. And as has been the case throughout Barry Ferguson's tenure, when Ridvan's tended to start, Shefty's tended to start the next game, and that could well go on for the rest of the season.
Yep. Maka and many others who are tuning in slightly later says, who's on the subs bench, Derek? The subs bench in full, folks. Butland, Maguire, Enciala, Barron, Bayrami, Jefty, Egeman, McCausland, Curtis, McCallion, and Danilo. So that is who is on the bench. I'll give you the Athletic team as well. They line up in a 4-2-3-1. Gira Sabala in goal. Of course, they do rotate their goalkeepers on a regular basis. Simon is not in goal tonight. And they go with a back four. DeMarcos, Vivian, Alvarez, and Lecuy. I think that's how you pronounce the lad's name at left back. Two holding midfielders, Ruiz D. Galarreta and Mikel Warigizar. I think that's how you pronounce it. In front of them.
You should have rehearsed this before you came on air, really, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm not entirely fussed. I'd imagine that there's no Bilbao fans that tuning in to this show, but there you go. In front of them, the two Williams brothers on either flank with Sanset in the middle, and up front the battering ram, as he's been referred to by Spanish football journalists, and that is Marwan Sanadi, who they brought in from the third tier of Spanish football, and he's certainly making a name for himself up front. So that is how Athletic Bilbao line up this evening. Up front, Joshua Serial Dessers gets a nod. Surprised at that. I think we both had Hamza Egeman. I would have liked to have seen Hamza lead the line tonight, but I can understand why Barry's went with Dessers. He's his go-to man, and he's got the nod again tonight.
Yeah, am I surprised? No. And I think Andrew sums up the point pretty well. Dessers, again, just kind of defines his team, doesn't he? My argument with him for a long time has been he's not a striker for all occasions, and my worry would be in a game like this, I think the biggest weakness to his game is getting his team up the pitch. When there's a bit of pressure and a team are pressing, I think he can do it. So if you think of goals like, spoke recently about the goal Nadim Barami scores at Kilmarnock to make it 4-2 a few weeks ago, Derek, and Dessers has that nice layoff in the build-up, but Kilmarnock kind of pressing man for man, and that aggression makes the space for him to play into. You think back to Dynamo Kyiv, the flick on he had before he scored the goal away in Poland way back at the start of the season, however many months ago that was. But I think when it's a case of holding the ball up and taking his team up the pitch, that's where you see the difference when Egeman or Danilo plays. So that would be my slight concern tonight, because Athletic Bilbao are a team who do not concede many goals, are really strong defensively, and they control a lot of the game. But clearly, Ferguson is going with, as you say, Dessers, who we trust, because he started him in, I think, every single game so far. Hamza Egeman hasn't played at number 9. Again, to go slightly pessimistic, I think if you're looking at Egeman's value or someone like Clinton and Ciala, I don't think all this chopping and changing helps the long term. But Barry Ferguson in isolation is trying to win the game, isn't he? I'm like you. I would have liked to see Hamza Egeman start up top. I think he probably would have given that ability to hold the ball up. But we've had, and I cannot stress this enough, we could very feasibly come on at full time, and Dessers has had that kind of Fenerbahce away style performance, and I wouldn't be surprised. It's just because his impact on games can be so up and down, so kind of variable. I thought you might see Egeman come in there tonight, but we shall see. I'm sure he'll be confident. He's been on European runs before. He's got a good link up with Václav Černý. It makes me think maybe that Rangers are going to try and play in transition a little bit more and get Dessers running in behind and stretching that Athletic defence. Because again, outside of Dessers, you look at that team, who's running in behind? No one, which maybe justifies why Ferguson has got him in the starting 11 again.
Yep. Jock says, please be aware of the dreaded yellow cards. I think there's a few walking on the old tightrope for suspension. Raskin is one. Barron is another. I think Ridvan, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff Day on there as well. I think all running that risk. So let's hope. Well, definitely Nico Raskin doesn't pick up a yellow card because he is instrumental for this Rangers midfield. But that is a team in full, folks, once again. Big calls made by Barry Ferguson. As he said there would be. Liam Kelly preferred to Jack Butland in goal. The back four, Dujon Sterling, James Tavernier, Leon Balogun, Robin Proper comes in, and Ridvan Yilmaz preferred to Jefte. A midfield of Raskin Hadji and young Bailey Royce. What a chance it is for him with Vaslav Cherny supporting Cyril Dessers up top. What's your hunch tonight, Joshua? Rangers getting a result?
Are they getting a result? Do you know what? Like, they need to keep the tie alive, don't they? Most realistically, they need to keep it alive for next week. We have done so many of these videos before, so many of these games where I've wanted to say they won't get a result, and they have. I do think it is a step up. There's so many unknowns because of that team. It's a team that's not really played together. It's a shape that could change. Is it Dujon Sterling at right wing back or right centre back? We don't really know. I think that Rangers will still be into the second leg. I think if you're optimistic, you go for a draw, but it's going to be really difficult because of this is a real step up. I think from Fenerbahce. Is that optimistic / pessimistic enough? I don't know, but I honestly think it could go either way, in maybe not dramatic fashion, but I'm intrigued to see how they play it there, because I think Barry Ferguson very much, you can see the Walter Smith influence in his European football. But does this crowd get edgy tonight if Rangers don't get after the game? Can they get up the park if they get penned back in? If we're talking about the impact of Dessers, have they got a midfield that can use the ball a little bit better? Maybe so. I just finally think it might be Sterling at right centre back, because Tavernier, Balogun and Proper doesn't have that much pace, and you probably want a bit of last line pace against the Williams brothers.
Yeah. Big shout out, incidentally. Bumped into a Rangers review fan and a Rangers fan heading up from down south earlier. Tom, good to meet you, Tom, on the train. Hopefully you have a fantastic night at Ibrox, and it's a very enjoyable trip back down the road. But we will be back on the whistle just shortly after full time, folks, when we hope we'll be reporting on another memorable Rangers evening in European competition. Let's hope so. But enjoy the game. I hope you enjoy the game, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.